Find that cozy spot, take a nice slow breath, and just let your body sink into whatever you're relying on. We heading back to January 1945, into the frozen forests of eastern France. So congratulations, you just woke up in eastern France. It is January 1945. And you absolutely freezing, not the kind of cold where you grab another blanket. I mean bone deep and feel your toes, frozen eyelashes cold. The first thing that greets you is the sensation of frozen ground beneath your body. It's not soft, not forgiving, more like lying on a stone floor than earth. You shift, wincing as stiff muscles protest. Your spine aches from lying on unforgiving ground, your joints locked into their own private rebellion. Around you, the faint sounds of life stir. A cough from one foxhole, a muttered curse from another, a whispered prayer hanging in the icy stillness like smoke. That's Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy, 19 years old. Looks like he's barely out of high school, maybe 110 pounds with his gear soaked through. Get some coffee, if there's any left. Gonna be a long day, he murmurs, and only a narrow road connecting you to the village. The ground is too hard to dig real foxholes. Most of the men have nothing more than shallow scrapes in the dirt, barely deep enough to duck into. His breath clouds in the cold. K-rations have been your daily fare. A little tin of salty meat, some crackers hard enough to crack a molar, a chocolate bar frozen into a brick, and a couple of smokes. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You barely register it anymore. It's been going so long. It's more like thunder in the back of your mind than a real threat. Your hands tremble. It could be the cold, or the fear. It's getting hard to tell the difference. He's got that baby-faced look, the kind people would have teased. Once, not anymore. When he looks at you, his face seems too young for his eyes. Eyes that have already seen more than any man should. Not since Anzio, where he wiped out a German machine gun nest on his own. Not since France, where he took out 2 snipers and another machine gun team, all without backup. A few more clips rest in your ammo pouch. Your canteen's contents are half frozen. Their hulking forms crawl across the frozen fields toward you. Behind them, rows upon rows of German infantry. Not dozens, hundreds. You've got a bayonet, some grenades, a small first aid kit, everything you need, and not nearly enough. A steady pulse like a war drum. Someone shouts, "Tanks!" The forest, once serene, is torn apart. Branches splinter like bones. The ground heaves with every blast. You press yourself as deep as you can, your shallow foxhole, praying it's enough. People don't joke about him now. They follow his lead. A burst of flame. A deafening roar. 2 of the crew are gone instantly, vaporized. The rest abandon the flaming wreck and flee into the trees. Your socks, once thick and warm, are perpetually damp, the kind of wet that chills you to the bone. Deeper into the woods, there's another defensive point. Better cover, but someone has to hold the line long enough for the others to get there. But it catches the edge of a frozen ditch and sinks, wedged uselessly, its barrel pointing toward the sky like a raised fist. The M10 behind him is a burning inferno, belching smoke. And Murphy, Lieutenant Audie Murphy, climbs up onto the blazing tank destroyer. His silhouette cuts against the rising smoke. He grabs the .50 caliber machine gun mounted on top, except maybe the 2 M10 tank destroyers positioned behind your lines. One on the narrow road, one dug into the tree line. Your boots are old companions, separating at the seams, the leather cracking from repeated freezing and thawing. The forest around you is stunning, almost beautiful, in a grim, silent way. He's a lighthouse in the storm. He's calling in artillery support, voice tight but controlled. His shoulders are tense. He knows what's coming. You all do. Tall pine trees, their branches sagging under the weight of snow, stand like frozen sentinels. The flame is weak, struggling in the cold. The coffee, if it can be called that, is lukewarm, bitter, and metallic. Still, when it slides down your throat, the warmth, faint as it is, hits your stomach like a gift. A thin mist clings low between trunks, swirling as you walk. Ahead, across an open field, lies the village of Holzwehr, still held by German forces. It's less than a mile away, but it might as well be another continent. And you, whether you're ready or not, are a soldier in Company B, 5th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, United States Army. Just a few days ago, you were part of a group of over 100 men. Now, the count is closer to 40. Most of your comrades have been with you since the hard-fought beaches of Italy. But it's probably not. You've barely had time to breathe, let alone recover. But you're alive. For now. Every layer of your uniform smells like something unholy. A mixture of sweat, caked-on mud, and that coppery, nerve-wracking scent of fear. Beside you, your steel helmet rests in the snow, and even thinking about touching it with bare skin sends a warning through your brain. It would stick to your flesh like ice on iron. You're not resting on a mattress, or even a cot, just a patch of snow-covered dirt hardened into something that resembles ice-covered cement. A single wool blanket, crusted with frost along its edges, is wrapped around you. It's barely offering any warmth. Snow must have drifted down as you slept, a light dusting that makes everything look eerily peaceful, like a postcard no one would ever want to send. You've worn the same clothes for what feels like an eternity, close to 2 weeks now. The air is heavy with the mingling scents of pine sap, burnt gunpowder, and something darker, something faintly sweet and unforgettable, the unmistakable, inescapable scent of death. This is the Colmar Pocket, one of the last German strongholds in France. And then there's that kid to your left, young, wiry, checking his M1 carbine like it's an extension of himself. He nods in your direction. You emerge from your foxhole slowly, cautiously. Your boots crunch on the ice-encrusted ground. The position you hold isn't exactly ideal. Your company is dug in at the edge of a wooded U-shape, with open ground before you. You find the mess area, such as it is, just a small clearing where a soldier-turned-cook is crouched over a tiny stove. A sergeant near you, face weathered beyond his ears, mutters, "Germans are moving. Scouts saw something near the village." Could be nothing. You sip slowly, trying to stretch the meager warmth. Your last real meal is a distant memory. The sun begins its slow climb, casting long, eerie shadows between the trees. Somewhere beyond the hills, artillery thuds rhythmically. Lieutenant Murphy moves quietly through the lines, checking weapons, offering quiet words. He's calm, steady. "Keep your head down today," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. Something feels off. Back at your foxhole, you run a quick check on your gear. Your M1 Garand is clean and loaded. 8 rounds, metal biting against your gloves. Around 2 p.m., the world shifts. It begins with a low rumble. Not artillery this time, something heavier, mechanical, drawing nearer. And then you see them. 6 German Panther tanks, emerging through the mist like monsters from a nightmare. "Jesus Christ," someone whispers. You and your 39 brothers in arms are staring down an army. You've got nothing that can stop a Panther. Lieutenant Murphy grabs the radio. German shells begin to rain down. The sky splits with sound and fury. Then, through the chaos, you hear the metallic groan of your first M10 being hit. The second M10 tries to reverse, seeking cover. Lieutenant Murphy shouts, "Fall back. Secondary position. Go." It's a call you hoped you wouldn't hear. The line's broken. You've got to move. Murphy stays behind. You see him, calm in the chaos, standing out in the open, radio in hand, directing artillery strikes like he's at a parade drill. You hesitate just for a moment as you glance over your shoulder. He's still there, alone. Everyone else is pulling back. German bullets and artillery are impacting all around him. The tank could explode at any moment, but there he is firing the heavy machine gun at the advancing. German infantry cutting them down in swaths. You can't hear what he is saying over the din of battle. But later, you'll learn that when the artillery coordinator asked how close the Germans were, Murphy responded, "Just hold the phone, and I'll let you talk to one of the bastards for an hour." The stars blink quietly above the skeletal trees, and the once beautiful snow now carries the shadow of what it covered. Your hands are numb again, trembling slightly from adrenaline and the bite of the wind. Your feet, wrapped in half-frozen socks, feel more like blocks of wood than part of your body. The forest is still, but your mind keeps spinning, flickering images of home, of warm food and soft sheets, of your mom's voice calling you in from the cold when you were little. You can feel your face slacken, your limbs go heavy, your eyes drift closed, bit by bit. You're not safe, not really, but you've survived another day, and sometimes that's enough. You shift your hips, finding just enough of a soft patch in the dirt where you can settle. It's not comfortable, but it's better than before. You're more tired than you've ever been. A kind of tired that seeps into your marrow, where even blinking feels like work. You breathe slowly, watching the fog rise with each exhale, the rhythm calming your heart. There's still the faint thump of artillery far away, but in this moment, it's distant, just another part of the background. Your helmet beside you is cool to the touch, but comforting in its own way, a familiar shape in a world turned strange. Murphy stays on that burning tank destroyer, firing the 50 cal, calling in artillery, strikes holding off hundreds of German troops by himself. You watch from the tree-line as the Germans try to flank him as tank rounds explode near him, as the M10 is repeatedly hit and engulfed in smoke. Twice you re-certain he has been killed. Twice he emerges from the smoke, still firing the ground around. The tank destroyer becomes littered with German dead. The air tastes like frost and pine. The snow falls gently again, soft as ash, filtering through the tree branches and settling over the world like a blanket. The attack falter stalls and finally begins to recede, only then does. When he passes by your foxhole, you glance up, his silhouette limned by starlight and the faint red glow of a cigarette someone nearby just lit. His hands are steady, steadier than anyone else's. He leans slightly to favor his wounded leg, but he says nothing of it. Get some rest, he tells you in a voice that's calm, even warm. They'll be back tomorrow. Murphy climbed down from the burning vehicle and walked back toward the American lines. He is limping from a leg wound. But he refuses evacuation. Instead, he organizes a counterattack, leading what's his left of company back to reclaim the original position. The Germans retreat all the way back to Holtz. Later, you learned that. Murphy killed or wounded approximately 50 German soldiers by himself. He stopped an attack by 6 tanks and 250 infantry. He saved what remained of Company B from certain destruction. As darkness settles across the forest, you're back in your foxhole, the cold now deep in your bones. Still, you're alive. Murphy walks through the lines, checking the men, moving like someone with nothing left to prove. You nod. No words. Just a quiet acknowledgement as you pull your stiff blanket tighter around your shoulders, tucking your hands in against your chest for warmth. Above, the night sky stretches clear and sharp, every star piercing through the blackness like a pinprick of memory. And somehow, despite everything, your muscles begin to relax. In the stillness, you notice your fingers are beginning to warm, the gloves finally holding in some heat. You take one last slow breath, feel your chest rise and fall. German bullets and artillery are impacting all around him. The tank could explode at any moment, but there he is firing the heavy machine gun at the advancing German infantry, cutting them down in swaths. You can't hear what he's saying over the din of battle. Up and at 'em, soldier. Germans didn't go home just 'cause you're tired. Your body feels like it's made of lead and broken glass. Every joint aches from the cold. Your back is one solid knot of pain from sleeping on frozen ground. There's a bandage visible under his pant leg where he was wounded yesterday, but he moves without any obvious pain. His face is gaunt, cheekbones sharp under skin that's weathered beyond his years. He nods to you as he passes. Any movement from the village? He asks. Nothing yet, sir, you reply. All quiet since dawn. He grunts in acknowledgement. They took a beating yesterday, but they'll be back. Keep your eyes open. You watch him move on, speaking briefly with each man. He looks tired hell. Everyone looks tired, but there's a quiet competence about him that inspires confidence. You've seen officers who lead from far behind the lines, who treat enlisted men like disposable game pieces. Murphy isn't like that. He's right here in the dirt with you. Your mouth tastes like you've been chewing on pennies. The temperature dropped even further overnight. They say it's the coldest winter in Europe in decades. You believe it. Ice has formed on the inside of your helmet where your breath froze. Your canteen is now a solid block of ice. Even your shoelaces are stiff and uncooperative as you try to tighten your boots. Around you, the other men of Company B are going through the same morning ritual groaning as they stretch frozen limbs, cursing as they discover which parts of their equipment have frozen overnight, trying to light cigarettes with numb fingers. But later, you'll learn that when the artillery coordinator asked how close the Germans were, Murphy responded, he's new, a replacement who arrived just 3 days ago. Jenkins or Johnson or something. They come and go so fast nowadays that you barely bother learning names. Mine are wet. You toss him your matchbook. He's young, maybe 18, with a round face that still has baby fat. Poor kid looks like he should be delivering newspapers, not fighting Nazis. He'll either toughen up quick or he'll die. There's not much middle ground out here. The sound of artillery starts up again in the distance. German 88s, probably. The distinctive crump has become as familiar as your own heartbeat. You've learned to tell the difference between outgoing and incoming. These are outgoing German shells headed somewhere else. Small mercies. Just hold the phone and I'll let you talk to one of the bastards for an hour. The waxed cardboard box contains a small tin of powdered eggs that you mix with a little water to form a pale yellow paste. There's also a couple of rock-hard biscuits, a small chocolate bar that's frozen solid, and more of that awful instant coffee. Gourmet dining, army style. You eat mechanically not because it tastes good, but because you need the calories. The cold burns energy faster than summer combat. Just staying warm is a battle in itself. Murphy stays on that burning tank destroyer, firing the old 50 cal, calling in artillery strikes, holding off hundreds of German troops by himself. You watch from the tree line as the Germans try to flank him, as tank rounds explode near him, as the M10 is repeatedly hit and engulfed in smoke. Twice you're certain he's been killed. Twice he emerges from the smoke still firing. The ground around the tank destroyer becomes littered with German dead. The attack falters, stalls, and finally begins to recede. Only then does Murphy climb down from the burning vehicle and walk back toward the American lines. He's limping from a leg wound, but refuses evacuation. Instead, he organizes a counterattack, leading what's left of Company B back to reclaim the original position. The Germans retreat all the way back to Holtz. Later, you'll learn that Murphy killed or wounded approximately 50 German soldiers by himself. He stopped an attack by 6 tanks and 250 infantry. He saved what remained of Company B from certain destruction. As darkness falls, you're back in your foxhole at the edge of the woods. The temperature is dropping again. Your hands are numb, your feet blocks of ice. You're exhausted beyond belief, but somehow still alive. Murphy moves among the men, checking on everyone, making sure the wounded are being treated. When he passes your position, you notice that despite everything, His hands are steady. Get some rest, he tells you. They'll be back tomorrow. You settle deeper into your foxhole, pulling your frozen blanket around you. The stars are coming out brilliant pinpoints in the clear winter sky. You think about home, about warm beds and hot meals, about streets where no one is trying to kill you. You shift slightly, finding that small spot where the ground isn't quite as hard beneath your hip. The cold seeps through your layers, but somehow your eyelids grow heavy. Your breathing slows, and you feel your muscles relaxing, one by one. In the distance, you can still hear the occasional sound of artillery. But here, in this moment, there's a strange kind of peace. You're still alive, your unit held. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. You yawn quietly, feeling your jaw crack from the cold. Your fingers finally start to warm up inside your gloves as you tuck them against your chest. The weight of your helmet on the ground beside you is oddly comforting, a small piece of protection in this dangerous world. You take another slow, deep breath, watching it cloud in the freezing air, and settle in for another night in the frozen forests of France, where the snow continues to fall gently through the pine branches above. Morning comes too soon in the frozen forest, not with the gentle transition of sunlight through curtains, but with the harsh voice of a sergeant kicking the bottom of your foxhole. "Hey, pass the matches," says the guy in the next foxhole over. Breakfast, such as it is, comes in the form of more K rations. Lieutenant Murphy appears, walking the line and checking positions. The morning passes slowly, the mind-numbing boredom of war. Hurry up and wait. Hours of nothing punctuated by moments of sheer terror. You spend the time cleaning your rifle. The M1 Garand is a solid piece of engineering, but it needs care, especially in these conditions. You field strip it, wiping down each part with an oily rag to prevent rust. Is it true what they're saying about Lieutenant Murphy? That he took on a whole company of Germans by himself yesterday? 6 men, led by a staff sergeant named Barlow, tasked with checking the area to the north of your position for any sign of German movement. Their faces are serious, and they're studying a map spread out on the hood of a jeep. Something's happening. Word filters down through the ranks. The Germans are pulling back from the Colmar pocket. Intelligence suggests they're redeploying forces to the east to counter the Russian advance. Your regiment is ordered to push forward tomorrow to maintain pressure and prevent any organized retreat. Moving through the snow-covered forest requires a specific kind of attention. Step carefully. Listen constantly. It would be beautiful if it weren't a battlefield. Watch for tracks, broken branches, cigarette butts, anything that might indicate enemy presence. The winter landscape plays tricks on your eyes. Every shadow could be a German soldier. Every rustle could be someone taking aim at you. The patrol lasts 3 hours and reveals nothing except how exhausted you all are. By the time you return to the company position, your legs feel like rubber and your lungs burn from the cold air. You nod, tucking the damp socks inside your shirt to dry them with body heat. Saw it myself. Climbed up on a burning tank destroyer and manned the 50 cal. Held off the entire German attack for an hour. Jenkins whistles. He'll give him a medal for that, won't they? Probably. If we live long enough for the brass to hear about it. It's not that you're trying to scare the kid, but out here, hope is a dangerous thing. Better to expect the worst and be pleasantly surprised than the other way around. The 8-round clip system is a vast improvement over the old bolt-action Springfield from the last war. Your dad served in France in 1918, carrying one of those. He rarely talked about it. Around noon, a jeep arrives with mail and supplies. Letters from home are worth more than gold out here. You get 2, one from your mom and 1 from your girl back in Ohio. You save them, tucking them inside your jacket. Letters are best read in private, where no one can see if they make you cry. There are also fresh socks, which might as well be Christmas presents. Nothing matters more in winter combat than keeping your feet dry. Trench foot has taken more men out of action than German bullets. You change your socks immediately, massaging feeling back into your toes. They're pale and wrinkled, but not black yet. No frostbite. Another small mercy. "Hey," says the kid who borrowed your matches, Jenkins, "you've confirmed." After lunch, more K rations, this time featuring a tin of processed meat product that might generously be called Ham U, reassigned to a patrol. Lieutenant Murphy is meeting with the company's remaining officers when you get back. That night, you eat your dinner K ration, sitting on the edge of your foxhole, watching the sunset paint the snow-covered landscape in shades of pink and gold. Every shadow could be a German soldier. Every rustle could be someone taking aim at you. The patrol lasts 3 hours and reveals nothing except how exhausted you all are. Intelligence suggests they're redeploying forces to the east to counter the Russian advance. Your regiment is ordered to push forward tomorrow to maintain pressure and prevent any organized retreat. By the time you return to the company position, your legs feel like rubber and your lungs burn from the cold air. Lieutenant Murphy is meeting with the company's remaining officers when you get back. That it's not so bad. That the food's good and I'm making friends. Their faces are serious, and they're studying a map spread out on the hood of a Jeep. Something's happening. They'd just worry more if they knew the truth. No point in telling them about the constant fear, the cold that never leaves your bones, the men who disappear in explosions of red mist. They're 1 second and gone the next. Word filters down through the ranks. The Germans are pulling back from the Kmar pocket. That night, you eat your dinner K ration, sitting on the edge of your foxhole, watching the sunset paint the snow-covered landscape in shades of pink and gold. It would be beautiful if it weren't a battlefield. Jenkins sits nearby, writing a letter home by the last of the daylight. What do you tell them? You ask. Your folks, I mean? He shrugs. All you can do is press yourself into the dirt at the bottom of your foxhole and pray that the next shell doesn't have your name on it. Your body reacts before your mind, diving into the foxhole. Your ears ring. Dirt and pine needles have somehow gotten inside your clothes, your mouth, everywhere. You spit and blink, trying to clear your senses. Jenkins follows a split second later, landing on top of you as the world explodes. That I'm fine. He folds the paper carefully. What else can you say? You nod. Your own letters home are filled with the same gentle lies. December 41, right after Pearl Harbor. Seemed like the right thing to do. How'd you end up here anyway? Jenkins asks. You volunteer or get drafted? Volunteered. You chew on a piece of hard candy from your ration kit. You? Drafted. August last year. Hadn't even finished high school. You're about to respond when a whistle cuts through the air, followed by the unmistakable sound of an incoming artillery shell. The German barrage lasts 20 minutes. 20 minutes of hell, with the earth shaking and trees shattering and men screaming. When it finally stops, the silence is almost as shocking as the noise was. You okay? You ask Jenkins, who's still half on top of you. He nods, his face pale in the growing darkness. Yeah, I think so. Slowly, carefully, you both peek over the edge of the foxhole. The forest has been transformed. Where there were once tall pines, there are now splintered stumps. Craters pockmark the snow. The air smells of cordite and burning wood. In the adjacent position, 2 men are bent over a third. Even in the fading light, you can see that the ground around them is dark with blood. It's Barlow, the sergeant who led your patrol earlier. He's been hit with shrapnel, a jagged piece of metal protruding from his thigh. His face is gray with shock and pain. Voices call out in the gloom, officers and NCOs checking on their men. You hear Murphy's voice somewhere to your left, calm and steady. Medic! We need a medic here. The cry comes from nearby. You and Jenkins scramble out of your foxhole and move toward the sound. The medic arrives, pushing past you with his bag of supplies. Give me some space, fellas. Can someone find me a goddamn light? No winning. You pull out your Zippo and flick it on, holding it steady so the medic can see. He cuts away Barlow's pant leg, revealing a wound that makes your stomach turn. He reaches out and grabs your arm as they lift him. The sergeant grits his teeth, refusing to cry out even as the medic probes the injury. 2 men per position. When the time comes, you settle into your foxhole together, rifle across your knees, eyes straining to pierce the darkness. The temperature has plummeted, and your breath forms small clouds in front of your face. 4-hour shifts. You focus on the next minute, the next hour. Don't think too far ahead. The cold makes talking an effort, and anyway, you need to listen more than you need to chat. You tense, raising your rifle, but it's just a deer. A small doe picking her way delicately through the snow. She freezes when she senses you, her large eyes reflecting the starlight. He looks even more tired than yesterday, if that's possible. But his eyes are clear and focused. For a long moment, you stare at each other, 2 living things in a landscape of death. Then she turns and bounds away, white tail flashing in the darkness. The night is alive with small sounds. The creak of frozen branches, the distant rumble of vehicles, the occasional pop of a flare, illuminating the no man's land between your position and the village. The waiting, knowing they're out there. Might be watching us right now. I want eyes on that village all night long. Clear any resistance and keep going. 1 foot in front of the other. That's how we win this thing. You're going to be okay, Sarge, the medic says, working quickly to clean and bandage the wound. This is your ticket home. Barlow shakes his head weakly. That's just how it is out here. People come and go, mostly go. You don't dwell on it, but there's a change in the air. A sense of anticipation. Today, you move forward. Today, you take the fight to the enemy. The scattered clouds that provided the day's light snow have cleared, revealing a vast canopy of stars. Your dreams are a jumbled mess of home and war, faces of friends both living and dead, the sound of your mother's voice mixed with the whistle of falling artillery. The beauty of it strikes you as almost obscene given the carnage on the ground. Lieutenant Murphy calls a meeting of the NCOs and a few experienced privates, including you. The German artillery barrage was likely a prelude to another attack, he explains. The enemy knows you're pushing forward tomorrow and wants to disrupt your preparations. Can't leave my boys. Not your choice, I'm afraid. This needs surgery. 2 men arrive with a stretcher, and they carefully load Barlow onto it. Keep an eye on the new kid, he says, nodding toward Jenkins. He's greener than grass. You nod. Will do, Sarge. See you stateside. But you both know it's unlikely you'll ever see each other again. The night grows darker and colder. Double the watch tonight, he orders. You're assigned to midnight to 4 M. Watch with Jenkins. How do you stand it? Jenkins whispers after about an hour of silence. You consider the question. You just do. I'm scared, he admits. All the time. Everyone is. Only liars and crazy people say they aren't afraid out here. The conversation drops off after that. Around 3 a.m., you spot movement at the edge of the woods. When your watch ends, you wake the next shift and crawl back into your sleeping position. Despite the cold and discomfort, exhaustion claims you quickly. Dawn arrives with a thin gray light that does little to warm the frozen landscape. As you prepare your gear for the advance, Lieutenant Murphy passes by your position. Ready? He asks simply. You nod, securing your helmet strap. Ready, sir. He clasps your shoulder briefly, the weight of his hand solid and reassuring through your layers of clothing. We push to the village. But your hands are steady. You've done this before. You'll do it again. 1 foot in front of the other, like Murphy said, as you step out from the tree line into the open field. The rising sun breaks through the clouds, illuminating the snow in a dazzling display of light. For just a moment, it's breathtakingly beautiful. Then you're moving forward, boots crunching through the frozen crust, rifle at the ready. You shift slightly, adjusting your weight as you walk. The rhythm of marching forces your muscles to warm up, to loosen. Your breathing falls into a steady pattern. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Nice and easy. That's it. One step and then another, moving toward whatever comes next. The morning light growing stronger with each passing minute. The village of Holtzfjord looms ahead, a cluster of stone buildings with red tile roofs now partially covered with snow. Smoke rises from a few chimneys. It looks almost peaceful from a distance, like something from a Christmas card. It's hard to believe it's full of Germans trying to kill you. The advance across the open field is the most vulnerable part, 200 yards of exposure, with nowhere to hide. Lieutenant Murphy has called in artillery support to suppress any German resistance, but artillery is never precise. Both of you scramble up and sprint toward the fallen tree trunk, about 15 yards away. The machine gun opens up again, but your moving target's now harder to hit. You slide into cover behind the tree, just as bullets thunk into the wood. Jenkins is breathing hard more from fear than exertion. Jesus Christ, he gasps. The shells land with thunderous impacts, kicking up fountains of snow and dirt around the village perimeter. All along the line, the company is doing the same dance rush. Take cover, provide suppressing fire for others. Rush again. In others, you find German soldiers, sometimes alive and fighting, sometimes wounded, occasionally dead from the artillery barrage. The wounded are treated according to the rules of war, their weapons confiscated, and they resent to the rear under guard. You make another rush forward, closing the distance to the first buildings. Urban combat is its own special hell. It's a dangerous, nerve-wracking process. The first house you enter, with Jenkins and 2 other men, is a small farmhouse. The interior is freezing cold, but shows signs of recent occupation. Dirty dishes on the table, beds that have been slept in, a pot of something unidentifiable, now frozen solid, still sits on the stove. The village consists of about 30 buildings clustered around a small central square. Each one could hide snipers, machine gun nests, or troops waiting to ambush you. Each window is a potential firing position. Each doorway a possible death trap. It's agonizingly slow progress, but it's progress. Murphy is up ahead with the lead element, directing the advance. Even from a distance, you can pick him out not by his size, which is unimpressive, but by how he moves. This place has changed hands 3 times in the last month. Deliberate, focused. He points, gestures, and men respond instantly to his commands. Natural leadership. You move in short rushes. 5 men go forward while others provide covering fire. Then another group moves up, leapfrogging toward the objective. The weight of your gear rifle, ammunition, grenades, canteen, first aid kit, entrenching tool feels heavier with each step through the knee-deep snow. Contact front. Someone shouts unnecessarily, as if the bullets weren't announcement enough. Next to you, Jenkins is flat on his belly, eyes wide with fear. You've been here before, but this is his first time under direct fire. You can see the panic rising in him. Keep your head down, you tell him. When I say move, we go together. Direction toward that fallen tree. Got it? He nods, not trusting himself to speak. You wait for a pause in the firing, then tap his shoulder. Move! You're okay, you tell him. Just keep moving forward. That's all you got to do? The artillery has done its job. Several buildings at the edge of Mole, Holtzfjord, are damaged, and the German fire is becoming sporadic rather than sustained. You clear buildings in teams of 4. 1 man kicks in the door, 2 enter with weapons ready, covering different sectors, while the 4th provides security outside. Where are the civilians? Jenkins asks, looking around at the abandoned home. Evacuated, if they're lucky, you reply, or hiding in cellars, or dead. You continue through the village, building by building. Some are empty. By midday, most of Holtzfear is in American hands. The remaining Germans have retreated to the far side of the village. Company B has suffered only light casualties. 3 wounded, none killed. It feels like a victory small, but significant. You and Jenkins find yourselves in what was once a bakery. The ovens are cold, but the faint smell of bread still lingers. Your stomach growls in response. When was the last time you had fresh bread? Months ago, at least. Think there's anything to eat in here? Jenkins asks, rummaging through cupboards. Doubt it. Germans would have taken anything edible. But he persists, and to your surprise, discovers a jar of preserved cherries hidden behind some flour sacks. The two of you sit on the floor and pass the jar back and forth, eating the sweet fruit with your fingers. Collaborators maybe, or suspected of helping the Americans, or just in the way. Doesn't take much reason in war. The sight sobers everyone. Foxholes and fighting positions are dug where the ground allows it, or improvised behind walls and in ditches where the earth is too frozen. The Germans will likely counterattack, and you need to be ready. You're reassigned to a 2-man position at the northeast corner of the village in what was once a garden. A low stone wall provides some cover, and you've managed to scrape out a shallow depression behind it. Jenkins is your partner again. The kid seems to have attached himself to you, like a duckling, imprinting on the first thing it sees. This is what you're fighting against, not just an army, but the kind of thinking that makes executing old people in a church seem reasonable. He stops at yours, crouching down beside the wall. You help carry the bodies outside for proper burial when time permits. The ground is too frozen to dig graves now, but someone covers them with a tarp and weighs it down with stones. It's the most delicious thing you've tasted in weeks. Should we share? Jenkins asks, mouth red with cherry juice. You consider it for a moment, then shake your head. Spoils of war, kid. Enjoy it while you can. Through the window, you can see other soldiers moving through the village securing positions, setting up machine guns at strategic points. 2 grenades, you report. Jenkins has about the same. Lieutenant Murphy is conferring with the other officers in the village square. Pews are arranged in neat rows, and a simple altar stands at the front. It seems untouched by the war raging outside its walls, except for the bodies. In the front pew, an elderly couple sits side by side, hands clasped together. From behind, they might be praying, but when you approach, you see the small, neat holes in the backs of their heads. Execution style. Maps are spread out on the hood of a jeep that somehow made it this far forward. After finishing the cherries, you join a group assigned to check the church at the center of the village. It's a small stone building with a modest steeple, probably 100 years old or more. The heavy wooden door is partially open. Inside, the church is dim and quiet, illuminated only by what sunlight filters through stained glass windows. The air smells of candle wax and ancient stone. Why? Jenkins asks softly. They were just old people. You've seen this before. By late afternoon, the company has established a defensive perimeter around Holtzfear. Machine guns are positioned to cover all approaches. As the winter sun begins to set, casting long blue shadows across the snow, Lieutenant Murphy makes his rounds checking positions. How's the ammo situation? He asks. 6 clips for the M1. Murphy nods. Should be getting a resupply tonight, but make it last, just in case. Any movement out there? Nothing yet, sir. He studies the open field beyond the village, his eyes narrowed. They'll come from the east, most likely. Forest provides cover for their approach. Keep your eyes open. After he moves on, Jenkins turns to you. You think we'll hold this place? You consider the question. We'll try. That's all we can do. Your breath forms crystals on your scarf. Any exposed skin quickly becomes numb. Your turn, he whispers. You sit up, stiff and aching. Every joint protests the movement. You're getting too old for this. You think, though, you're only 23. But it's not the years that age you in war. It's the miles. He sits next to you, rifle across his knees. Can't sleep, you ask? Thought I'd keep you company instead. It's against regulations, but small comforts become incredibly important out here. The harsh tobacco burns your throat, but spreads a momentary warmth through your chest. The endless walking, the carrying of heavy loads, the diving for cover, the nights on frozen ground. Nah, never had much luck with girls. Too shy, I guess. Your body feels used up, worn out. You and Jenkins take turns on watch, one sleeping for an hour while the other keeps lookout. The moon is nearly full, casting enough light to see the field and the edge of the forest beyond. Nothing moves except occasional swirls of snow blown by the wind. The silence is complete, broken only by the soft sounds of your own breathing. But I was hoping the army might give me a chance at something else. Not the light, dry snow of previous days, but wet, heavy flakes that quickly accumulate. Visibility decreases rapidly. That he was captain of his high school baseball team. That he wanted to be a teacher someday. In return, you tell him about your life in Ohio, your job at the auto plant before the war, your plans to marry Sarah when you get home. He laughs softly. Careful what you wish for, right? Sleep, when it comes, is fitful and unsatisfying. You dream of warmth, of home, of a bed with actual sheets. The endless hours of vigilance when nothing happens. Your mind plays tricks on you. Shadows become enemy soldiers. Wind sounds like whispered German commands. You think of your parents' house in Ohio, the smell of your mother's cooking, the sound of your father's laugh. You think of your girl, Sarah, and wonder if she's still waiting for you. Create a sense of shared humanity in the midst of inhumanity. And they remind you what you're fighting for. Not just abstract concepts like freedom or democracy, but the simple right to go home and live your life. Her letters say she is, but you've seen how war changes relationships. Distance stretches the bonds between people until sometimes they snap. Fatigue makes your eyes see movement where there is none. The temperature drops rapidly as darkness falls. A clear day gives way to a night of brutal cold. You wake to Jenkins shaking your shoulder, his face ghostly in the moonlight. Taking your position at the wall, you scan the darkness beyond. This is the hardest part of war. Not the fighting, but the waiting. During these quiet hours, thoughts of home are both comfort and torture. A soft shuffle beside you indicates Jenkins has given up on sleep. Feet are too cold, he admits. You share a cigarette, cupping your hands around the glow to prevent it from being seen from a distance. You got someone waiting back home? Jenkins asks, passing the cigarette back. Girl named Sarah. Been together since high school. You? He shakes his head. You'll find someone when you get back. Women love a man in uniform. If I get back, he says quietly. You don't offer false reassurances. You both know the odds. Instead, you change the subject. Tell me about your home. Where are you from? Little town in Pennsylvania. Coal mining country. My dad works in the mines, wanted me to follow him. The conversation meanders through the night quiet voices in the darkness. You learn that Jenkins has 3 younger sisters. These quiet exchanges of personal history serve a purpose beyond passing time. They forge bonds between soldiers. Dawn comes with a change in the weather. Clouds move in heavy and gray, and snow begins to fall. I don't like this, you mutter, peering into the swirling whiteness. Perfect cover for an attack. Lieutenant Murphy makes his rounds, checking positions. He stops at yours, crouching down beside the wall. How's the ammo situation? He asks. Should be getting a resupply tonight. but make it last, just in case. 6 clips for the M1, 2 grenades, you report. Jenkins has about the same. Murphy nods. They'll come from the east, most likely. Forest provides cover for their approach. Keep your eyes open. You think we'll hold this place? Any movement out there? Nothing yet, sir. We'll try. That's all we can do. You dream of warmth, of home, of a bed with actual sheets. You wake to Jenkins shaking your shoulder, his face ghostly in the moonlight. He studies the open field beyond the village, his eyes narrowed. After he moves on, Jenkins turns to you. The clear day gives way to a night of brutal cold. You think of your parents' house in Ohio, the smell of your mother's cooking, the sound of your father's laugh. He sits next to you, rifle across his knees. You think of your girl, Sarah, and wonder if she's still waiting for you. Thought I'd keep you company instead. Her letters say she is, but you've seen how war changes relationships. Distance stretches the bonds between people until sometimes they snap. It's against regulations, but small comforts become incredibly important out here. Nah. Never had much luck with girls. Too shy, I guess. The harsh tobacco burns your throat, but spreads a momentary warmth through your chest. The moon is nearly full, casting enough light to see the field and the edge of the forest beyond. Nothing moves except occasional swirls of snow blown by the wind. Your breath forms crystals on your scarf. Any exposed skin quickly becomes numb. You and Jenkins take turns on watch, one sleeping for an hour while the other keeps lookout. Wanted me to follow him, but I was hoping the army might give me a chance at something else. You're getting too old for this, you think? Though you're only 23. Fatigue makes your eyes see movement where there is none. But it's not the years that age you in war. It's the miles. The endless walking, the carrying of heavy loads, the diving for cover, the nights on frozen ground. Your body feels used up, worn out. You consider the question. The temperature drops rapidly as darkness falls. This is the hardest part of war, not the fighting, but the waiting. The endless hours of vigilance when nothing happens. Sleep, when it comes, is fitful and unsatisfying. Your turn, he whispers. You sit up, stiff and aching. Every joint protests the movement. Taking your position at the wall, you scan the darkness beyond. The silence is complete, broken only by the soft sounds of your own breathing. Your mind plays tricks on you. Shadows become enemy soldiers. Wind sounds like whispered German commands. During these quiet hours, thoughts of home are both comfort and torture. A soft shuffle beside you indicates Jenkins has given up on sleep. Can't sleep, you ask? Feet are too cold, he admits. You share a cigarette, cupping your hands around the glow to prevent it from being seen from a distance. You got someone waiting back home? Jenkins asks, passing the cigarette back. Girl named Sarah. Been together since high school. You? He shakes his head. You'll find someone when you get back. Women love a man in uniform. If I get back, he says quietly, you don't offer false reassurances. You both know the odds. Instead, you change the subject. Tell me about your home. Where are you from? Little town in Pennsylvania. Coal mining country. My dad works in the mines. He laughs softly. Careful what you wish for, right? The conversation meanders through the night. Quiet voices in the darkness. You learn that Jenkins has 3 younger sisters. That he was captain of his high school baseball team. That he wanted to be a teacher someday. In return, you tell him about your life in Ohio, your job at the auto plant before the war, your plans to marry Sarah when you get home. They forge bonds between soldiers, create a sense of shared humanity in the midst of inhumanity. And they remind you what you're fighting for, not just abstract concepts like freedom or democracy, but the simple right to go home and live your life. These quiet exchanges of personal history serve a purpose beyond passing time. Shells whistle overhead and impact throughout the village with deafening explosions. You and Jenkins press yourselves into your shallow foxhole as debris rains down around you. Dawn comes with a change in the weather. The heavier chatter of .30 caliber machine guns joins the sharp crack of rifles. You duck lower, pulling Jenkins down with you. The Germans keep coming, using the snowfall as cover, moving in short rushes, just as you did during your own advance. Clouds move in, heavy and gray, and snow begins to fall. The German advance continues despite mounting casualties. They're determined to retake Holtz. Your ears ring from the concussion. Jenkins looks at you with wide eyes, checking if you're hit. You give him a thumbs up, though you feel a warm trickle of blood from your left ear. Not the light, dry snow of previous days, but wet, heavy flakes that quickly accumulate. Visibility decreases rapidly. "I don't like this," you mutter, peering into the swirling whiteness. Perfect cover for an attack. The field between the village and forest is littered with dark forms in the snow. Fallen German soldiers. His uniform is dirty and torn, and there's a smear of blood on his face that might not be his own. We've got reports of more German units moving in from the north. They're not done with us yet. He looks exhausted, but alert. Or overrun. Hopefully the former. As if summoned by your words, the sound of artillery fire erupts from beyond the forest. Medics move among the American physicians, treating the wounded. German snipers take shots at careless Americans who expose themselves. Random artillery shells land in the village, keeping everyone on edge. You and Jenkins take turns sleeping in 2-hour shifts, neither of you ever fully letting your guard down. He's standing partially exposed, gesturing to his men. Nothing serious enough to send him to the rear. Your own ear has stopped bleeding, though the ringing continues. You take careful aim, control your breathing, and squeeze the trigger. He drops. The German advance falters momentarily, then continues with renewed intensity. The barrage continues for 20 minutes. Systematic and thorough. The Germans are walking their artillery across the entire village, leaving few areas untouched. When it finally stops, there is a moment of eerie silence, broken only by the calls of wounded men and the crackle of fires that have started in several buildings. The Germans press forward to the very edge of the village before the American defenses finally stall them. Artillery support arrives, landing with devastating effect among the exposed enemy troops. Here they come, you say, spotting movement at the forest edge. Dark figures emerging from the trees, advancing through the snow. The M1 bucks against your shoulder. You work the action, firing again and again until the clip is empty. The distinctive ping as it ejects signals you to reload. Jenkins is firing too, his shots more hesitant, but finding targets nonetheless. A lot of them, at least the company's strength, maybe more. You fire your rifle at the approaching Germans, taking careful aim. All along the village perimeter, American weapons open up. An enemy machine gun opens up from somewhere to your right, its rounds snapping overhead and shipping the top of the stone wall. "We need to relocate," you shout over the noise. "That MG has our position." Staying low, you both move laterally along the wall, finding a new firing position where a fallen tree adds to your cover. Through a break in the snowfall, you spot a German officer directing the attack. A mortar round lands close enough to shower you with dirt and snow. The battle rages for over an hour. They begin to fall back first in small groups, then in larger numbers. By mid-morning, the attack has been repulsed. The village itself has suffered significant damage. Several buildings are burning despite the snow. The church steeple has been hit and partially collapsed. You help Jenkins bandage a minor shrapnel wound on his arm. Lieutenant Murphy appears, moving quickly from position to position, assessing the situation. "Good work holding the line," he tells you. "How long are we supposed to hold this place, sir?" you ask. He gives you a grim smile. "Until we're relieved." The day continues with sporadic fighting. The snow continues to fall, gradually burying the evidence of battle. White shrouds form over the bodies in the field. The village grows quiet, except for the occasional crack of a rifle or distant explosion. During one of your rest periods, you find a relatively intact cellar beneath a damaged house. It's warmer underground, protected from the wind and snow. You share a can of meat from your K rations, using a bayonet as a makeshift utensil. Jenkins produces a battered deck of cards, and you play a few hands of gin rummy to pass the time. You and Jenkins create a small sanctuary there, hanging a blanket over the entrance to block the light from your single candle. In this tiny pocket of relative safety, you allow yourselves to relax slightly. "You think we'll push forward tomorrow?" he asks, discarding a 3 of clubs. "One village at a time, that's how we win this thing. Probably depends on what intelligence says about German positions." "One village at a time," he repeats almost to himself. "Seems like it'll take forever." You don't to talk about the replacements who arrive each week to fill the gaps left by the dead and wounded. You don't to share your private fear that you one day be one of the ones who makes it home. Germans are running out of men, out of supplies. We keep pushing, they keep retreating. Eventually they'll break. Get some rest. I'll wake you if anything happens. Won't be forever. You keep watch over him and the dark landscape beyond, guardian of this small moment of vulnerability. Tomorrow will bring what it brings, more fighting, most likely. But for now, in this moment, there is just the night, the stars, and the soft sound of Jenkins breathing beside you. Your breath forms clouds that drift away on the gentle wind. Nice and easy. That's it. Just breathe and watch and wait. The weight of your helmet is solid and reassuring on your head. You take another slow breath, letting it out gradually, watching it cloud in the frigid air as your muscles continue to loosen one by one, while the stars wheel slowly overhead. The weight of your rifle is familiar and reassuring in your hands. You and Jenkins join the line for ammunition resupply, each receiving 3 bandoliers of M1 clips. Jenkins says, eyes lighting up as he pockets his. The quartermaster also hands out fresh socks and, miracle of miracles, chocolate bars. The sweetness is almost shocking after weeks of bland rations. You feel your muscles gradually relaxing as you settle into the rhythm of the watch. Your breathing slows and deepens, the tension in your shoulders beginning to ease bit by bit. Intelligence reports indicate the Germans are establishing a new defensive line about 10 miles ahead. Your job is to keep them on the run, prevent them from digging in too deeply. You show him how to apply strips of adhesive tape over the raw spots before putting on fresh socks. The snow has stopped and the clouds have cleared, revealing a sky filled with stars. The constant fear, the exhaustion, the cold, the homesickness. It builds up until something has to give. You break down your M1 Garand completely, cleaning each part with meticulous care. He looks better after a few hours of rest, some of the tension gone from his face. Sand, dirt, and moisture are the enemies of any firearm, and in combat, a jammed rifle means death. The snowfall from yesterday has left about 6 inches of fresh powder covering the battlefield. It's beautiful in a desolate way, the pure white broken only by tank tracks and the dark shapes of fallen soldiers that no one has had time to bury. Germans are falling back, but they'll fight delay actions all the way. Stay alert. Keep intervals between men. Watch the tree lines. You reassemble it. Work the action to make sure it's smooth, then load a fresh clip. Better to let it out quietly in the darkness than to break when it matters. They look around at the battle-damaged village with expressions ranging from curiosity to apprehension. You find a relatively intact building with a working pump, and manage to get enough water to wash your socks. While they dry near a small fire, you inspect your feet carefully. No signs of trench foot yet. My dad always said, "Take care of your feet, and they'll take care of you." The skin is wrinkled and pale, but not blackened or swollen. You massage feeling back into them, then put on your fresh socks, saving the newly washed pair for tomorrow. The temperature plummets again. The cold seeps through your layers, making your fingers stiff on your rifle. You don't mention the cost, how many American lives it will take to reach that eventual victory. When darkness falls completely, you return to your defensive position. Sometime after midnight, in the darkest hours, you hear a soft sound from Jenkins. At first, you think he's talking in his sleep, but then you realize he's crying, trying to muffle the sound with his sleeve. You pretend not to notice. Crying isn't uncommon out here, especially among the newer men. After a while, he stops and wipes his face with a gloved hand. "Sorry," he whispers. "Nothing to be sorry for," you reply. He settles back, his breathing gradually steadying. The night stretches on, star-filled and silent. In the distance, an occasional flare illuminates the sky, briefly turning the snow-covered landscape silver before fading. Despite the cold and danger, there's a strange peace in these quiet hours. You shift slightly, finding a more comfortable position against the stone wall. The village sleeps around you, damaged but still standing. You tuck your hands inside your jacket for warmth, feeling your fingers begin to thaw. Morning brings a clear sky and renewed activity. You're awakened by the sound of vehicles, American trucks and jeeps entering Holtz from the west. Reinforcements, finally. You nudge Jenkins, who blinks awake with the momentary confusion of a man who doesn't remember where he is until the harsh reality crashes back. "Looks like we're getting some help," you tell him, nodding toward the convoy. Fresh troops spill from the trucks, their uniforms still relatively clean, their faces lacking the hollow-eyed exhaustion that marks the veterans. Lieutenant Murphy meets with the newly arrived officers, while the company sergeants organize distribution of supplies. Are these ... real Hershey's? I'm saving this for a special occasion. You're more practical, unwrapping yours immediately and taking a bite. Special occasion is now, kid. Might not get another chance. Orders come down through the sergeants. The company is moving out in 1 hour, pushing northeast toward the Rhine. You use the hour to prepare. First priority is your feet. Jenkins follows your example. His feet are in worse shape, with blisters on both heels, but still functional. "Thanks," he says. "Smart man, your dad." The weapons come next. By the time the order comes to move out, you're as ready as you'll ever be. Company B forms up on the northeastern edge of Holtz, with Lieutenant Murphy at the front. "We're pushing to Yebsheim," he tells the assembled men, pointing to a spot on his map about 8 miles northeast. The advance begins under a cold winter sun. Their splintered trunks point accusingly at the sky. Dark shapes lie half buried in snow, some moving faintly, others eternally still. The promised ammunition resupply arrives, carried forward by a squad from the support company. You receive 2 bandoliers of M1 clips and a few grenades. There's also a thermos of hot coffee, a luxury that seems almost obscene in its normality. Your world narrows to the ground. Immediately in front of you, the weight of your rifle, the rhythm of your breathing. You and Jenkins take turns sipping the steaming liquid, feeling warmth spread through your bodies for the first time in days. Lieutenant Murphy gathers the squad leaders for a briefing, while the rest of you take the opportunity to rest. You sit with your back against a tree, massaging feeling back into your feet. The last major strong point before the Rhine. Once we take it, Germany's on the defensive for good. Jenkins collapses beside you, so tired he can barely keep his eyes open. You hand him your canteen, which has thawed enough to provide a few swallows of water. He drinks gratefully, then passes it back. It's a small pleasure, But out here, small pleasures are all you have. The squad leaders return with orders. Company B will support 3rd Battalion's attack on Yebsheim, moving in from the southwest while they press from the west. Urban fighting is different, faster, more confusing. Keep your head on a swivel and watch the windows. That's where they'll have their machine guns. You help Jenkins to his feet, and together you inspect your weapons one last time. His hands are steady now, his movements efficient. He's changed since you first met him, transformed by the crucible of combat from a green replacement into a soldier. The hour is 1800, just before dusk. Germans know the Rhine is their last natural barrier. They'll fight hard for Yebsheim. The ground shakes with the impacts. Smoke and dust rise above the village. Their fire is disciplined, sweeping back and forth across the American line. Crawl forward. You shout over the noise. Use the ditch for cover. Together you begin to move elbows and knees, digging into the hard ground, rifles held above the snow. He seems to have no concern for his own safety, moving from position to position completely exposed at times. It's slow, exhausting progress, but it keeps you alive. Men drop to the snow some hit, others taking what cover they can find. Smoke rises from several locations, evidence of fighting. The sound of artillery grows louder. The 3rd Battalion is already engaged there. The ground slopes gently down toward the village, offering little cover beyond occasional snowdrifts and frozen drainage ditches. The company reorganizes for the advance. Casualties have been relatively light, 3 killed, 7 wounded badly enough to be evacuated. I know you will. That's why we're going to win. In the growing darkness, muzzle flashes stand out starkly against the buildings of Yebsheim. The company moves out, advancing cautiously through the broken landscape. When he reaches you and Jenkins, he pauses. You're in the 2nd squad, with Jenkins still at your side. Lieutenant Murphy leads from the front, as always. Others with minor wounds choose to stay with the unit. Among infantrymen, there is an unspoken code. You don't leave your buddies unless you absolutely continue. By mid-morning, the snow has stopped and visibility improves. The day passes in a blur of weariness and vigilance. Miles of snow-covered terrain, occasional exchanges of fire with German rear guards, brief halts to rest and reorient. By late afternoon, you can see Yebsheim in the distance, another village much like Holzfear, with stone buildings and a small church steeple. Company B halts in a wooded area about half a mile from the village. Almost there, you tell him. Yep. He nods, too exhausted for words. The brief rest ends all too soon. You check your watch, an old bulla that had been your father's. It's 16:45, less than an hour to prepare. Listen, you tell him as you adjust your helmet strap. Stay close to me when we go in. He nods seriously. I'll stick with you. As the company forms up for the advance, Lieutenant Murphy moves among the men, offering a word of encouragement here, a nod of approval there. This is likely to be tough, he says candidly. We'll fight harder, sir, you reply. He smiles slightly, the expression transforming his boyish face. At precisely 1800, the artillery opens up American guns, laying down a preparatory barrage on Yebsheim. After 5 minutes of this, the signal comes to advance. The company moves forward in extended order, each man 5 yards from the next, to minimize casualties from artillery or machine gun fire. Halfway to the first buildings, the Germans open up with machine guns. You and Jenkins dive into a shallow ditch, pressing yourselves into the frozen earth. Others are doing the same all along the line, inching toward the village under heavy fire. Lieutenant Murphy is directing a machine gun team to set up and provide covering fire. You've seen this before, his apparent disregard for danger borders on recklessness, but is actually calculated risk-taking. The sun is setting now, the light fading rapidly. The American advance continues, relentless despite casualties. This is what infantry does: absorbs losses and keeps moving forward. You reach the outskirts of the village. As full darkness falls, the first buildings loom ahead, their windows dark and ominous. Street fighting is about to begin, the most dangerous kind of combat, where death can come from any direction. Lieutenant Murphy gathers a group of men, including you and Jenkins. "We need to clear these buildings one by one," he says, his voice calm despite the bullets snapping overhead. 4-man teams. Standard procedure. I'll take the first house. Davis, you're with me. Johnson and Williams, you two. You feel a moment of relief that you and Jenkins aren't in the first team, followed immediately by shame at the thought. Murphy catches your eye, and there's understanding there. He knows he's felt the same fear, the same relief, the same shame. The second team follows 1 minute after we enter, he continues. That's you, Richards. Take Jenkins, Miller, and Thompson. Clear the building to the right of ours. You nod, accepting the responsibility. Synchronize. Now we go in exactly 3 minutes. Yes, sir. You explain the procedure to Jenkins again, making sure he understands his role second man in, covering the left side of each room while you take the right. Miller and Thompson will secure the rear and provide backup. They approach the first building, a 2-story stone house with shuttered windows. Murphy checks his watch. Move fast, shoot first, ask questions later. Anyone inside is assumed hostile until proven otherwise. Those 3 minutes stretch endlessly as you prepare. Its door is already partially open, which puts you instantly on alert. Could be a trap. Remember speed and violence of action, you tell him. His face is pale in the darkness, but his jaw is set with determination. I'm ready. At the designated time, Murphy's team moves forward. Murphy signals, and Davis kicks in the door. They enter rapidly, weapons at the ready. The sound of gunfire erupts from inside almost immediately. You count the seconds, then signal your own team forward. The next building is similar, possibly a small shop with living quarters above. Drawing a grenade from your belt, you pull the pin and toss it through the doorway. The explosion is deafening in the confined space. Before the dust settles, you're through the door, Jenkins right behind you. The front room is empty, except for scattered furniture and the debris from your grenade. You move quickly to the next room, covering the right side as Jenkins takes the left. It's a kitchen, also empty, though a pot still sits on the cold stove. Miller and Thompson secure the ground floor, while you and Jenkins head upstairs, moving carefully on the creaking wooden steps. At the top is a small landing with doors, leading to what must be bedrooms. The first room is empty. The second contains an elderly German couple, huddled together on a bed, terrified by the sounds of battle in your violent entry. You lower your rifle slightly. Don't shoot. We're in Zilistan, the old man pleads. His wife adds, we are civilians. You use your limited German to tell them to stay put, that you're not here to harm non-combatants. They nod vigorously, clearly willing to agree to anything that keeps them alive. Occasionally, the night is split by the sound of grenades or the longer bursts of automatic weapons fire. Flares illuminate the scene sporadically, casting harsh white light and deep shadows that make the familiar strange and threatening. The rest of the house proves empty of any military threat. You station Thompson to watch the civilians, while the rest of you continue clearing the building, checking closets, under beds, anywhere a soldier might hide. Outside, the sounds of battle continue. House by house, building by building, the village is being cleared. It's slow, dangerous work. Murphy's team has secured their objective as well, though Davis has a minor wound from flying debris. We keep moving, Murphy orders. Next block of buildings, same teams. And so it goes through the long night. Jenkins joins you, his face streaked with dirt and sweat despite the cold. He offers you a cigarette, and you accept gratefully, cupping your hands around the match flame. After clearing your assigned building, you regroup outside. Jenkins has performed well, his initial nervousness replaced by focused determination. Another day, maybe two, depends on how stubborn they are. You find yourself proud of him, of how far he's come in just a few days. You don't quite sleep, that would be dangerous even here, but you drift in a twilight state, aware of your surroundings, but detached from them. Your muscles gradually relax one by one, the tension of combat seeping away for these few precious moments of rest. The pattern repeats: approach, enter, clear, secure. Some buildings are empty. Others contain civilians terrified and cowering. You let him sleep, keeping watch with half-lidded eyes. A few hold German soldiers who either fight to the death or surrender when they realize their position is hopeless. The Germans still hold the northern section centered around the church. The company establishes a temporary command post in a relatively intact building near the center of the secured area. They've established a strong defensive position there, with machine guns covering the approaches and snipers in the bell tower. By dawn, about half of Yebsheim is in American hands. Your team has been fortunate so far, suffering no casualties despite several close calls. As the sky lightens, revealing a clear winter day, Lieutenant Murphy calls a halt to allow the men to rest and resupply. Your breathing slows, matching rhythm with Jenkins beside you. We move again at noon. Ammunition is distributed, the wounded are treated, and cold rations are consumed with the mechanical actions of men too tired to even taste what they're eating. You find a corner to sit in, your back against a wall, rifle across your knees. How long do you think it'll take to clear the rest? He asks, gesturing toward the northern part of the village, where occasional shots still ring out. You exhale a stream of smoke, considering. He nods, looking thoughtful. And after that, we keep going all the way to Berlin, if that's what it takes. The conversation drops off as exhaustion claims you both. Jenkins's head droops against your shoulder, his breathing deepening, and sleep your body, gradually surrendering to exhaustion, while some small part of your mind remains vigilant. Around you, other men do the same, grabbing moments of rest where they can. Lieutenant Murphy moves among them, checking on everyone, making sure the wounded are cared for, and that ammunition is distributed fairly. Despite having been awake and fighting as long as anyone, he shows few signs of fatigue beyond a slight stiffness in his movements. When he reaches your position, he crouches down beside you. "Get some rest while you can," he says quietly. You nod, too tired for words. He places a hand briefly on your shoulder, a gesture of understanding and support, then moves on to the next group of men. Outside, the winter sun climbs higher, its light filtering through broken windows to cast geometric patterns on the floor. The sounds of battle have diminished to occasional single-shot snipers, probably from both sides, seeking targets of opportunity. In this strange suspended moment between fighting, you allow yourself to relax more deeply. The weight of your helmet feels heavy on your head, but you don't remove it. Danger is still too close. Your eyelids droop, despite your best efforts to stay alert. Care rations stuffed in your pockets, rifle cleaned and oiled, despite your exhaustion. The wall at your back is cold, but solid, a small piece of stability in a world gone mad. If he survives this war, he'll do well in whatever comes after. You shift slightly, finding a more comfortable position as your muscles continue to loosen. Just a little rest, you tell yourself. Just enough to be ready for what comes next. Through the broken window, you can see a patch of blue sky, startlingly bright and peaceful. It reminds you of home, of summer days that seemed to stretch forever, of a time before war consumed your world. You take a slow, deep breath, savoring the memory and the momentary peace. Your rifle lies across your knees, its weight familiar and oddly comforting. Your hands rest on it lightly, ready to bring it up at the first sign of danger. But for now, just for these few precious moments, you allow yourself to drift in the borderland between wakefulness The brief rest ends with Lieutenant Murphy's voice cutting through your half-sleep. Saddle up, we're moving out. You blink away the fog of exhaustion and nudge Jenkins, who wakes with a startled expression, momentarily forgetting where he is. Reality crashes back quickly. The real soldiers are mostly gone. Enough time to go, you tell him. Outside, the winter sun is high in a clear blue sky. But you recognize a few words: Lieber, Lieb, Vermissen, Zurich. The temperature has risen slightly, turning the snow wet and heavy underfoot. The sounds of fighting have intensified again, mostly from the northern section of Jebsheim around the church. The plan, as Murphy explains it, is simple but dangerous. Company B will advance through the narrow streets toward the church square, clearing buildings as they go. The Germans have established their main defensive position there, with machine guns and snipers covering all approaches. Intelligence says they've got about a company's strength dug in around the church. Murphy tells the assembled squad leaders. They're well supplied and determined. This is going to be house-to-house street fighting all the way. You check your gear one last time: full ammunition pouches, grenades on your belt, canteen refilled with water that tastes strongly of iodine purification tablets. Jenkins does the same beside you, his movements now almost as practiced as your own. He's a quick learner, adaptable. The advance begins at 1300 hours, with Company B moving up the main street toward the church square. The Germans have had time to prepare their defenses, and they've done so expertly. Every intersection is covered by machine gun fire. Snipers occupy upper floors of buildings, targeting anyone who exposes themselves for more than a few seconds. Progress is painfully slow. You move from doorway to doorway, from building to building, always in danger, always alert. The Germans contest every foot of ground with fanatical determination. In the third house you clear, you find a German sniper set up in an upstairs bedroom. He's young, barely old enough to shave, but manages to get off a shot that misses you by inches before Jenkins puts a bullet through his chest. The boy, and he is just a boy, looks surprised as he dies, as if he never really believed could happen to him. He couldn't have been more than 16, Jenkins says, his voice shaking slightly as you search the body for intelligence. Hitler's scraping the bottom of the barrel now, you reply. Volkssturm units, old men and boys. You find a letter in the boy's pocket from his mother in Bavaria. You can't read most of it. Promises that will never be kept. Now, despite your exhaustion and the numbness that combat brings, you feel a pang of regret. This boy was someone who loved him and prayed for his safety. Now he's just another casualty in a war that's already claimed millions. You pocket the letter not as a trophy, but because it seems wrong to leave it here with his body. Maybe someday it can be returned to his family, a small comfort in their grief. The advance continues, building by building. By late afternoon, Company B has pushed to within 100 yards of the church square. Casualties have been mercifully light. 2 men wounded badly enough to be evacuated. Several more with minor injuries who choose to continue fighting. The church is clearly visible now, its stone walls pockmarked by artillery impacts. Its steeple damaged, but still standing. German machine gun positions are set up around its perimeter, behind sandbags and rubble. Moving across that open space would be suicidal. Lieutenant Murphy calls a halt at the last row of buildings before the open square. We need to flank them, Murphy says, studying the situation through his binoculars. Richards, take your squad through these buildings to the right. The buildings Murphy indicated are a row of connected shops with apartments above. Their rear walls back onto an alley that might provide covered approach to the flank of the church square. Stand by. They're unaware of your presence, still focused on the main street. You see about 20 men around the church, with more presumably inside. Their faces are drawn with exhaustion, much like your own, but they maintain their vigilance. Artillery support in 5 minutes, then we go. The stone building would provide excellent protection, but close enough to force the Germans to keep their heads down. Their machine guns are all oriented toward the main approach, leaving their flank relatively exposed. The heavy rounds tear into the exposed flank of the German position, catching them completely by surprise. Bullets shatter the window glass around you, forcing you to duck and shift position constantly. He's a different person from the nervous replacement who arrived just days ago. The church itself still needs to be cleared. There could be Germans inside, using it as a last redoubt. Take 4 men, he orders. Go in fast and thorough. Watch for booby traps. Combat changes men quickly, either breaking them or hardening them. Jenkins has hardened. The rest of your squad adds rifle fire, creating a deadly crossfire. The explosions echo inside the stone building, followed by silence. But Jebsheim's church square, the last major German strong point, has fallen. You approach cautiously, watching for movement, for any sign of defenders. See if you can find a position to enfilade their machine guns from the side. It's a dangerous gambit, but with artillery support and your flanking fire, they have a chance. You proceed methodically, clearing as you go and communicating with hand signals to maintain silence. The rest have fled or surrendered. Pews overturned to form barricades, the altar used as a machine gun position, ammunition boxes stacked in front of religious statues. Windows shattered, the colorful stained glass lying in shards across the stone floor. You nod, gathering your squad 8 men, including Jenkins. The Germans contest every yard, but they're caught in a crossfire they can't escape. One by one, their positions are overrun or silenced. The bar is a powerful weapon, capable of laying down substantial suppressive fire. We're in position, sir. Clear field of fire on the right flank, ready when you are. The rest of the squad takes positions at other windows, ready to support the attack. Good work. Get your men some rest. We'll hold here tonight. Push on toward the Rhine tomorrow. Moving through the buildings is dangerous. Close quarters work. Each doorway, each room could hide enemies. The roof has a hole from artillery fire, but the walls are intact, and there's a fireplace where a small, carefully shielded fire provides welcome warmth. His face in the firelight looks older, the boyishness fading under the stresses of combat and constant vigilance. In the 3rd building, you find what you read looking for, a 2nd-floor window that offers a clear view of the German positions from the side. You set up your squad's Browning automatic rifle, manned by Private Wilson, at the window. Using your field telephone, you report the situation to Lieutenant Murphy. Good work, comes his reply. Those 5 minutes stretch endlessly as you wait, watching the German positions through your rifle sights. Then the artillery begins American 105mm howitzers, laying down a barrage around the church, not directly on it. Fire! You shout, and Wilson opens up with the bar. They're fighting on their home ground now, which makes them dangerous. Simultaneously, Murphy leads the main element of Company B in a frontal assault across the square. The Germans respond with desperate courage, turning some of their weapons toward your position while continuing to engage the main attack. Some won't. That's just how it is. Jenkins is beside you, firing steadily, his face set in concentration. The battle for the church square lasts 20 minutes of intense close-range fighting. It seems to stretch for hours. When it's over, the square is in American hands. The few surviving Germans retreat northward or surrender. The cost has been high. 4 men from Company B killed, another dozen wounded. You lead your squad down to join the main element. Lieutenant Murphy organizes a team to enter, choosing you to lead it. You select Jenkins and 3 others. The heavy wooden door of the church is partially destroyed by artillery. Grenades first, you instruct. 2 men toss fragmentation grenades through the doorway. Go, you command, and the team rushes through the doorway, weapons ready. The interior of the church is a scene of destruction and sacrilege. But there are no defenders. Only the dead 3 German soldiers lie among the debris, victims of the grenades or earlier artillery. As you clear the bell tower, a dangerous climb up narrow winding stairs, you reflect on the irony of fighting and dying in a house of God. The Germans had turned this sacred space into a fortress, and you've turned it back into a charnel house. Such is the nature of war. It corrupts everything it touches. From the top of the tower, you can see the entire village and the surrounding countryside. To the north, the last German units are retreating toward the Rhine, harried by American artillery. To the south and west, American forces are consolidating their gains, setting up defensive positions, treating the wounded. The Rhine itself is visible in the distance, a silver ribbon cutting through the winter landscape. Beyond it lies Germany proper, the enemy's homeland. The war is far from over, but the momentum has shifted irrevocably. The Germans are on the defensive now, fighting for their own soil rather than occupied territories. You descend to report to Lieutenant Murphy. Church is clear, sir. Good observation point from the tower. He nods, studying his map. The remainder of the day passes in the mundane tasks that fill the intervals between fighting. Ammunition is redistributed, the wounded evacuated, defensive positions established in case of counterattack. Rations are consumed without enthusiasm, but with the knowledge that they are necessary fuel. As darkness falls, the temperature drops again, though not as severely as previous nights. You find shelter in a partially damaged house near the church square. Jenkins sits beside you, cleaning his rifle with mechanical precision. "Do you think we'll make it?" he asks suddenly. "All the way to the end, I mean." You consider the question, poking at the fire with a stick. "Some of us will. Those aren't great odds. Better than they were a year ago. Germans are running out of everything: men, materials, time. But they can't win. They know it. We know it. It is just a matter of how long it takes, and how many more have to die before they accept it." He nods, reassembling his rifle with practiced movements. "If I make it, I'm going to be a teacher, like I planned. Tell kids about all this. Make sure they understand what it cost." "That's good," you say. "Someone needs to remember." But in the morning, you'll get up and continue the advance, because that is what soldiers do. They keep going until the job is done, or until they can't go any further. The conversation drifts as exhaustion claims you both. And the boredom, the camaraderie, and the loneliness. The way time seemed to stretch and compress in combat. Seconds lasting hours, days passing in a blur. You'll wonder if he made it all the way home. If he became the teacher he wanted to be. If he told his students about the war and what it really meant. And Germany, the way it seeped into everything, made every task harder, every wound more painful, every moment of rest less restful. The smells and sounds that never quite leave your memory. Jenkins wraps himself in a blanket and falls asleep sitting up, his back against the wall. For now, there is only this moment: a damaged house in a captured village, a dying fire, the sound of Jenkins breathing nearby, and the weight of your rifle within reach. For tonight, this small pocket of relative safety is enough. The tension begins to leave your body one muscle at a time first, your shoulders dropping away from your ears where you, deep in unconsciously holding them. Then your back no longer quite so rigid against the wall, your legs stretched out before you, the ache of miles walked gradually fading. You maintain watch a while longer, staring into the dying embers of the fire, lost in thoughts of home and what awaits after the war, if you survive to see it. So much death and destruction. And for what? So that people back home can live without fear, can go about their daily lives in peace and safety. Eventually, sleep becomes unavoidable. You arrange your gear within easy reach, place your helmet beside you, and settle into the least uncomfortable position possible. The rhythm of it becomes almost hypnotic, lulling you further toward sleep. But the gentle warmth of a body at rest, conserving energy, preparing for sleep. The sounds of the village at night drift through the damaged roof, occasional shots in the distance, the murmur of men on watch, the creak of buildings settling. It's not uncomfortable, just heavy, as if gravity has intensified. Your arms and legs feel pleasantly weighted, difficult to move, though you have no desire to do so. Your mind wanders back over the past few days, the defense of Holtz, Murphy's incredible stand on the burning tank destroyer, the advance to Yebsheim, the house-to-house fighting. Is it worth it? On nights like this, cold and exhausted and far from home, it's hard to say. In later years, long after the war, you'll remember these moments with a clarity that surprises you. The terror, they drift past like leaves on a stream, requiring no action, no response, just observations to be noted and released. You'll all remember Lieutenant Audie Murphy, the unlikely hero who went on to receive the Medal of Honor for his stand at Holtz, who became the most decorated American soldier of the war. You'll see his face on movie posters, because yes, he became a Hollywood star after the war. But you'll think of him not as the celebrity, but as the tired young officer who led from the front, who knew each man's name, who did what needed doing no matter the cost. You'll remember Jenkins too, the green replacement who became a soldier before your eyes. Most of all, you'll remember the cold, the bone-deep, relentless cold of that winter in France. In the depths of January nights, decades later, you'll wake up reaching for a blanket that was never adequate, shivering with a phantom chill. But that's all in the future. Tomorrow will bring what it brings. Your eyelids grow heavy as the fire dims to mere embers. Your breathing slows and deepens. Inhale through the nose, out through the mouth. The sounds around you, Jenkins's soft snoring, the occasional pop from the cooling fire, the distant noises of the village begin to blur together, forming a backdrop that's strangely comforting in its familiarity. The weight of your body seems to increase, pressing you more firmly against the floor. Your mind, which has been racing with tactical concerns and memories of home, begins to quiet. Thoughts still come, but they're slower now, less urgent. The cold that has been your constant companion for weeks seems less intrusive now. There's a warmth spreading from your core outward, reaching your limbs, your fingers and toes, not the intense heat of a summer day. Your heartbeat, which spikes with every explosion, every moment of danger, has settled into a steady, slower rhythm, thump, 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 the most fundamental percussion, the baseline of existence. Thump, 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 reliable, constant, soothing. The lines between wakefulness and sleep begin to blur. Your awareness of your surroundings fades, gradually replaced by a floating sensation, as if you're drifting gently on a calm sea. The hard floor beneath you seems to soften, to cradle your body rather than resist it. Images form behind your closed eyelids, not the sharp, intrusive flashbacks of combat, but softer scenes, home, family, peaceful moments before the war. They don't demand attention or provoke emotion. They simply exist, comforting in their familiarity. The weight of your helmet beside you, the presence of your rifle within reach, the knowledge that others stand watch while you rest all combine to create a bubble of security. However temporary, however illusory for this moment at least, you are safe. You can surrender to sleep, and so you do, slipping deeper into that velvet darkness where the war cannot follow, where there are no artillery barrages, no machine gun fire, no frozen foxholes or desperate advances, just stillness and peace and the blessed absence of fear. Your breathing has become so slow and regular now, each exhalation slightly longer than the one before. Your body feels wonderfully heavy, deliciously immobile. Even your thoughts have slowed to a trickle, then to occasional drops, and finally to nothing at all. In this moment, suspended between wakefulness and dreams, there is perfect peace. No past to regret, no future to fear. Just now, just this, just the gentle flow of breath and the steady beat of your heart, and the comforting weight of exhaustion finally claiming its due. Sleep comes not as a dramatic plunge, but as a gradual submersion, a sinking into depths that welcome and enfold you. The last flicker of conscious thought acknowledges that tomorrow will bring more fighting, more danger, more cold. But that is tomorrow. Tonight there is only rest-deep, complete, healing rest. And as you drift into that final surrender, one last image forms not of war, but of home, of peace, of a world where young men down tea huddle in frozen foxholes or clear shattered villages house by house. A world worth fighting for, worth surviving for. Sleep now, soldier. Sleep deeply and without dreams. The watch is kept. The perimeter is secure. Tomorrow's burdens will wait for tomorrow's strength. Tonight, there is only this perfect stillness, this complete release, this blessed descent into the healing dark.